super excited. I love how it seems like everybody is at the edge of their seats and they're ready. Like they showed up right like at 8 on the dot. So let's get right into it. We have some of our family here, but for those who are just joining us, welcome. We are Control Camp, a community built for artists, songwriters, composers, all who are wanting to get their music in TV and film for sync licensing. I'm one of your hosts, Daraj. Joining me are my amazing co-hosts, Eric Campbell and Steph Fink. Between us, we've had years of experience in the music industry, creating and pitching songs that have been used in TV and film commercials, advertising, games, trailers, you name it, for some of your favorite brands. And so we wanted to create a space where we can help bridge the gap for creator to some of the industry gatekeepers and really help give you the tools and resources to succeed in this space. So we do this particular room every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have real conversations with industry gatekeepers. We like to do a Q&A time where we just get to know our special guests, and we also later in the latter half of our program give you a time to speak with our special guests and ask whatever questions you have pertaining to the topics that we discuss. So make sure you stick around. As well, we have resources available. So if you're new to us, you may not be aware. If you go over to controlcamp.com, and that's spelled CTRL camp.com. The link is in either one of our bios. When you slide over there, if you go to the Sync 101 page, you'll see all of the resources that we have made available for you to help you in your journey with Sync. Top songwriting themes, how to engage music supervisors, just how to get major placements in this season. We also have room replays from our past rooms as well, so you can catch up on all of the talks like this and really, really just do a deep dive and get educated on this space that we call Sync. So make sure you follow our club and stay up to date with our new rooms. And with that said, welcome to the camp. I'm fired up because today's camp session, we get a chance to meet some of the top music execs and in film, TV, and animation. And we're going to close this thing out strong. We have some of the really powerhouse ladies in the industry and in the space that Music Box has graciously assembled. I feel like we assembled the Avengers here to really knock this thing out of the park and help us to understand more of their roles and how they're maneuvering in their space and with their experiences kind of shown itself in this time and what we can learn from that. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, so I think it might be cool, Steph, if you maybe want to do a quick intro of some of our panelists, because they are here, collectively, because you are the thread that ties everything together.
And
Oh, thanks. God.
and before Steph jumps in, can I say one thing, Steph? Because we said this last week and we said it Saturday, but there's different people here today, and so if you've been in this room before, you've normally seen, Control Camp has always been Daraj and I, but you've always seen Steph on the stage, and we've have like regulars that are like part of like the Control Camp family, and Steph is like the regular of the regular of the regulars. She's been here since we kicked off in November, and so we made it official last week. But I just want to reiterate that Steph Fink is an official co-host of Control Camp. So Control Camp is now Daraj, Eric, and Steph in no particular order. And we're just really, really excited to have you officially part of the team. We talk on the phone probably every other day, planning events, planning the future of this amazing community. And we're just really excited about what you're bringing to the table. Not just this event, but the whole plan.
You guys, I'm officially adopted and I'm so excited. And for those of you who have not been in Control Camp before, when somebody says something epic, I always go, I need the air horn. And now it's become an official sound of our room. And Koichi, who's like graciously pinging people left and right into this room, who's one of our Control Camp regulars down in the audience, is usually making it by mouth. But Daraj is now
I
amped
stole
us
his
more
thunder.
fun stuff. but I'm pumped, and I'm super pumped for tonight. Let me tell you guys all where this came about. As we were kind of going week by week, Eric and Daraj would ask me, hey, would you be a guest on Control Camp and talk about what you do and what Music Box does? And I said, I'd push it out. And then I said, how about for like Women's History Month? I'll do it then. And then it finally came to Women's History Month. And I said, guys, the truth is for me in my career, I am pretty much, and my company is pretty much the sum of all the amazing human beings I surround myself with, both in producers and executives and songwriters and administrators and all of the different things, because they're also important. So for me, I'm sure you're all familiar with It Takes a Village to Raise a Child. To me, it takes a village to raise a song, and it's really about the team. So I thought my story better be told through, some of the amazing people that I work with. And then I kind of looked around, and I am surrounded by incredible women, starting with Alyssa Smith, who's if you PTR, she's second down with the star. And that is our incredible manager. She's also a good friend of ours. I want her to tell a little bit about her story. But I'm going to, instead of me introduce each one of these amazing, incredible women, have each one of you, if you don't mind, just say who you are and what you do quick. And then we're going to jump into a bunch of questions instead of listening to me talk all night. And, we'll have a little campfire discussion about life and business and, I don't know, things women talk about. What do they talk about? Music, boobs? I don't know. Whatever women. I don't know what women talk about. So we're just going to get into it and we'll see what happens. So Alyssa, can you kick us off?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everybody. My name is Alyssa Leanne Smith, and I am, as my business side, I am the VP of Business at Quincy Jones Productions. I've been there for about 7.5 years now. It's crazy. Time is flying, and, get to work with, of course, the legendary Quincy Jones and help keep the company rolling. There's lots of stuff in the works that we do, and among one of my favorite duties is, getting to manage Steph and the Music Box team. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I definitely wanted to make the distinction of the business side, the professional side, because I think there's more to people than just what they do for business. So that is me, and I'll pass it off to Rachel.
Hey, so I'm Rachel Reitman, and I am VP of Partner Marketing and Branded Content at Nickelodeon International. So work across pretty much ex-US, producing content. And so I'm one of the people on the other side going, hey, Steph, I've got project I need music for. And so hopefully I can bring a bit of that perspective to this conversation.
And by the way, before Allison goes, I should tell everyone in this room that almost every single person, with the exception of Amy and Alyssa, on this stage is basically brand new to Clubhouse. Even though Amanda's the only one that has her little party hat, everyone's new to Clubhouse. So we might, help our team with some of the rules tonight. And for our speakers on the stage, if you see a flashing microphone, that's our way of clapping for you or clapping for something somebody said. But don't do it while you're talking like I just did, because then you mute. All right, Allison, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Dannenberg. I'm the creative manager at Pure Music Publishing. It's one of the largest independent music publishers in the world. It was founded in 1927, so I gotta believe we're probably one of the oldest too. So I push our catalog for use in film, TV, trailers, and promos, including the amazing Music Box catalog with Steph. I help sign artists and songwriters focused on writing for film and TV, or who just generally lend themselves well to film and TV. And I help create music or syncify our existing catalogs so they have the best shot at placement.
Amazing, Irene.
Hello, how are you?
I miss you, Irene.
I know.
I'm sad that I
know.
only get to see you on our Clubhouse tonight.
I barely get to see myself.
Yeah. By the way, all of these girls are also some of my closest friends too. So in fairness, tonight I'm going to be a little annoying that way. But Irene, tell us about yourself.
So I work at a company called Wide Eyed Entertainment, and we are artist management. And we also have a So we manage both artists and we manage producers and writers. And we also have a joint venture with Pulse, where we publish about 9 writers. And our clients include, like, we have Julia Michaels, Becky G, Elena Rose is a big Latin writer, and we run the gamut. We kind of cover almost all genres, minus country and that. But as far as the pop world, we kind of have somebody in every lane. Yeah.
Amy.
Hi, thanks for having us, Steph. I'm Amy. I am VP of Sync and New Business at Sony Music Publishing, overseeing Latin America and U.S. Hispanic markets. So like the other people who have discussed Sync, we're getting opportunities for the songwriters. Coincidentally, we do publish Elena Rose, who Irene just mentioned, so she's one of our fantastic songwriters.
The best.
And she's killing it. She's all over the charts right now.
You're killing it for us too.
We love it. And happy to be here. Thank you so much, Eric and Daraj, for what you guys do here. Steph, I can't say enough how amazing you are. You're such a great connector of people and believer of talent, and thank you.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, thank you. Amanda.
Hey everybody, I'm Amanda Tabor. I am an attorney at Barnes & Thornburg in Los Angeles. I'm also a musician myself. I have been practicing for about 5 years, and I work as counsel to Steph's company. I also work as counsel to artists and songwriters, producers. I do outside counsel work for companies and do a lot of licensing, including clearing the Super Bowl halftime show, and also doing music licensing for a bunch of other companies. So yeah, that's my background. Thanks for having me.
Alex.
See, I'm already having problems here. Hey guys.
We hear you.
I was like, how do I unmute? I'm Alex Nixon. I'm the head of music for DreamWorks Animation Television. I oversee all of our series currently in production, marketing, brand franchise, and live events as it relates to television and the brand overall. I get to work with my team and come up with sounds for animated shows, which is like pretty awesome and amazing. And I get to hire incredible composers and songwriters and producers. And it's literally like my dream job. My motto is there is no kids music, just great music. So we're all about just creating some amazing music for younger people to listen to and be excited.
And for parents to not be so sad when they have to listen on 8 billion times.
Yeah, I don't want you to stab your eyes out when you listen to our show. So hopefully you enjoy it. That's a big part of my job. So yeah, and thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So grateful to have you, ladies.
Yeah, for real. And let me just say on behalf of all the women on this panel that they are being incredibly modest when they're telling you what they do and who they work with and who their clients are and what they're dealing with on the day-to-day, including having to deal with me. So some of that is lovely on the creative side. And poor Amanda, I can tell you on a daily basis, is probably pulling a few hairs out when she gets my phone calls in the day.
You're hilarious.
Usually when I'm signing things from, the major companies like Nick or DreamWorks, I love you guys, but your legal departments kill me. We're pretty honest in this room. So, just an FYI, we speak freely. But anyway, we're going to jump into some questions. I'm going to let Eric and Alyssa basically take the questions, and I'll jump in to help you just so this doesn't become the Steph Fink show, and then I can have some fun with you. But Eric, you want to kick us off?
Sure. This is so amazing. All right. So the way we're going to do this, we've got a couple of different questions, and these are really more like discussion starters. So they're not necessarily geared to one person, and you can feel free to kind of jump in. Just a couple of Clubhouse rules, since we have 10 people on the stage. if you want to get into the conversation, and Daraj or Steph will demonstrate this, if you want to get into the conversation, if you just kind of release your microphone like that and then kind of bring it back, that lets the person talking know that you have something to say and you kind of want to jump in. A little different from if you really like what someone says and you want to kind of applaud without talking over them, then you kind of flash your microphone quickly to say, like, I really appreciate what you just said. So those two things help with the moderation. And so just going to throw a couple questions out, and then let's see where we go. So the first thing is just kind of a general, because someone said, I think it was Allison who said it, or maybe been Amanda, I'm sorry, who said that you're also a musician as well as an attorney, right? That was you, Amanda, right?
Yeah, that was me.
All right, so we were talking amongst ourselves about just this whole balance between creatives and executives, and all of you have kind of found your path on this executive. What's your thought between this whole creative or executive? Do you feel like that in your career you had to make a choice, one or the other, or is there a balancing act? And this is for people in our audience who are trying to come up and trying to find their path. This is a question we get a lot in terms of, do I pick a creative path? Do I pick an executive path? Is it one or the other? Is there a balance? What was the choice for some of you?
They're all being so polite. I can see Amanda and Alex both thinking their banks off. All right, I'm going to toss it to Alex, and then we'll go back to Amanda.
Okay. I'm like, am I doing it right? I don't know. So for me, I've been really lucky because I get to be a creative executive. But I started off as a singer, and I went to college as a singer, and I realized that I have terrible stage fright. And so, and I was geared towards like opera singing and musical theater, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I made the decision to go an executive route, and I changed my major in college, and I became a music industry major. But I have to say, throughout my career, I've been so lucky because I'm not just an executive who makes decisions, but I get to be so creatively involved, especially at my current position at DreamWorks. And I feel like I've never had to compromise on the creative side of what I do. Now, personally, because I have stage fright, like I'm not trying to sing on a track or a song. I will on occasion sing a demo if need be. But for me, while I did make a conscious decision to go in the executive route, I've been so lucky to be able to balance the two and have a creative outlet for myself.
That's great, Alex. And I can say too, like, on the other side of things, the nice thing about having an executive like Alex is so often we're faced with executives who are amazing, but don't have any musical background. And some of them are incredibly knowledgeable, and that doesn't matter. But sometimes it's super nice when less the executive, but more the outside external forces of production teams or things don't exactly know what they want, and having someone who could effectively communicate, on a creative's behalf without even having to speak to us sometimes is really nice. Alex really just speaks the language, which is cool. Amanda, go ahead, Alyssa.
No problem. I was just going to jump in here really quick because it reminded me of something that Quincy Jones always used to say, and I'm going to bring him up a lot because he is my boss and my main inspiration.
I do it too. It's okay.
He always talks about how, it's important for artists and executives alike to focus on sharpening what he calls as the left brain, because there's the left brain and the right brain being and representing emotion, and then the left brain really representing the science side of things, like learning how to really improve your craft. And he always says, when you're trying to be creative, you can either give that to someone else to paint your vision, or you can also learn the admin side of it and learn the business side. So it's really important to have both, because when you have just one, you have to basically be at the mercy of other people who are going to translate your vision into something. So for us at our company, it's very important that we work with artists who do have a focus on the left and right brain, and not just, being creative or just being a businesswoman or a man. So it's important to have both. And with that said, I would love to hear from Amanda. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you are a panelist, so welcome. Because you did mention that you have more of the creative side and the legal side. So I'm just curious how you pair those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I actually started as a classical musician growing up, and then expanded into other areas. I'm also a singer and songwriter, and I majored in music business at Northeastern. So I kind of was hedging my bet from the beginning between the creative and the business side. Although I did attempt to become an artist in my own right after college. That being said, I'm a very logical person, and I saw the writing on the wall, including that trying to do that in a recession was not going my way. And so I decided to put my passions for being a performer as a not as a primary focus, and I went to law school. Throughout that entire time, I maintained my songwriting and singing, and I'm actually now in a band when we're not in the middle of COVID. There is a balance there when you become an executive or a lawyer in a creative space, right? You have that drive toward creativity. Not everyone is a performer, but there's something that got them to the music industry or the entertainment industry. And if you can continue to feed that passion, no matter what it is, I think that really helps when the business side of things gets a little tough, because you always have that creativity thing. And I completely agree with you, Alyssa, that the having the balance, including if you are pursuing being a creative, between understanding the business and pursuing your creative space as a career, it's very important. Or at least having people around you who are good at what they do and understand it for you and can translate easily.
Absolutely. And I think with this whole past year and COVID, forcing people to do things they've never done before, it's so important to have that balance. Yeah, I was just curious about that, but Eric, feel free to, take the next one.
I want to, now that we have Jizzle on the stage, say first, what's up, Jizzle? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. And while we're talking about this, I want to pull Jizzle in because, from the other perspective of an artist who also has a business side and does business management. So the question we're talking about is, that left brain, right brain, and do you at some point in your career make a choice to choose creative or executive or find this balance? And so what is that for you, Jizzle? You're an artist. First of all, if you won't mind, when you start, just give a few sentences just introducing yourself, because everyone on the stage has kind of done that already. And just give a little introduction, and then talk about what that is for you, that balance between artists versus business. You have management, you have other people, but where's the line for you?
Thank you so much, Eric, for tapping in and let me hop in. I appreciate the alley-oop because I was a little late, got my time zones mixed up. But my name is Jizzle. I'm from Los Angeles. Primarily, I guess, or initially an artist, songwriter, and then an entrepreneur. But I've always been very instrumental in my career. And I guess, when we're talking about that balance between the left and right brain and creative and business, people always say that you have to do one or the other, but I think they go hand in hand, in that artists and creatives should definitely have a hand in what goes on in their business, because, you should be practicing good business values and doing things that you believe in. And so it's much easier when you are involved on some level. It doesn't have to be at every level. Like I don't have to micromanage or be in the small detail conversations, but I do want to be able to initiate the overall big picture and to chime in, with my perspective all the time. I will say that that balance is an ongoing thing to continue to have to make sure that you're on top of, and sometimes I'm feeling more creative than business, but I've learned to continuously flex the business muscle, especially as we lean towards a more independent driven industry where the market is primed for younger, new, and fresher ideas. I think it's very important that you understand that it's more of an even playing field now. So for me, it's always maintaining that balance, and that can go, season to season. And it's about having duality and being adaptable to what's going on.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's just the different perspectives from executive, attorney slash musician, artist with business interests. Like it's really good for our audience to hear that. All right, let's shift. Another question. We were talking amongst ourselves about mentorship and just how that helped each of you kind of get where you were, what role mentorship or any particular mentors played. And again, we're trying to think from the perspective of people in our audience. Some of them are on the artist path, some want to be music supervisors, some are interested in the corporate space of the music industry. Can anyone talk from the perspective of for you, where you are in your career? What was mentorship in place? Was that a thing? Was that helpful, informal, formal? Anyone want to speak to that? I see Rachel opening up.
Oh yeah. Oh, look like it's a hot spot. Whoever would like to go.
That was
You go ahead, Jizzle. I could go after you.
I was gonna say like mentors are important, and I've been blessed to have like amazing mentors from the inception of my career, both creatively and in business. But I do think that like as you're growing in your career, you have to keep an eye out and know that like your mentors might come from many different spaces, and because life is, one of my philosophies is it's the sum of all. So you have different areas that you have to grow in, so you can have multiple mentors in the space, but you should definitely always be trying to find not necessarily the quick road, but pass as many pitfalls as you can. And the quickest way that you can do that is by asking the right questions to the right people. If you see someone where you're trying to go, don't be afraid to ask them how they got there, and to show interest and find ways you can add value to their life story so they can in turn pour into you.
Yeah, basically what Jizzle is saying is mentors are not always formal. So I'll broaden the question
Big facts.
to the group, which is like, like G was a creative mentor to me. Like we became creative partners. And when I was highly on my executive side, people like Jizzle made me more creative and made me a better songwriter. And that's someone I look to constantly. So I think it's more, a broader question of who in your life has kind of helped you along the way, especially knowing that this is Women's History Month and we're kind of rounding out Women's History Month with an all women panel. I'm curious to know, and I think everyone is, our audience is, to know who helped you kind of get to the place that you are and who continues, where do you draw inspiration and guidance from?
Let's go to Rachel because she had her mic open before.
I totally agree with everything that just got said. And I think that you also have to remember sometimes mentor can have been an incredible conversation with someone that you've met for like a second, but changes your life, but and other ones are more longer term. For me, I got incredibly lucky when I started. Started with Nickelodeon. I've been with Nickelodeon for 16 years, and I started in London. And the way the corporate world works is a lot of time you have your boss, but then you also have what's called a dotted line to someone else where, they're kind of also your second boss. And I got really lucky that there was this guy, Dave. He was incredibly laid back. And he was like, so you're my other person? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, let's just chat. And the conversations, we would just chat, and I would end up working out problems and issues just through dialogues. And he would teach me by sharing stories. It wasn't anything formal. It was really just like, giving me examples by things from his own life. And the reason I really took inspiration from that was I find that I now mentor in that same style to people who I come across who, think I have wisdom to share. But the biggest thing he did for me that did change my life was that he was this executive. It was a very technical, legal, business contracts position, but he had an idea for a kids' TV show. And he ended up leaving pitching, creating, and having a huge success with a kids TV show that, he was bold enough to not think that he was just a business contract person, but he was a creator too. And he, had the confidence to go out there and sell this program. And so when it came time for me to, since I was doing things like campaigns, which are co-branded spots and commercials and interstitials, and I was like, I kind of see a need for a Nickelodeon news kids magazine show. So like, something that told kids about the latest movies and TV and video games. And I talked to my boss about it, and he was like, really? And he was like, well, I'll set you up with the head of international programming if you want to pitch it. And I pitched it, got a green light to do a 6-run test pilot. But I don't know that I would have had the confidence to do that if I hadn't had Dave already jumping, out of his lane and taking a chance. So that's my 2 cents.
That's amazing. Was that Orange Carpet?
No, that Orange Carpet is actually my second one. So that was a show called Enview. And so that was what kicked me off. Like basically that got me my first allocation of programming budget. And it was the success from that I grew, that now I spun that into Orange Carpet. Now I have 2 other spin-offs coming off of that. So yeah, so I've now been doing editorial content in addition to co-branded spots, branded content. Now, so many different platforms and social. So my content world has expanded, but it really all boils back down to that.
Well, let me connect some dots for some of our Control Camp audience in here. If you think dreams really don't come true on Control Camp, they do. So Herman, who's in the second row of the audience here, just got one of his first syncs as part of our major minor program, which we're rolling out over the next couple of weeks. And he did it for Rachel's Orange Carpet program. So Rachel's the executive that created that position for us. And Herman, on his first go with Music Box, after I said, it'll probably take 6 months to a year to land something, don't get your hopes up, and then knocked it out of the park because of an opportunity that Rachel created and won it. And now he has the theme for the show.
And we love it. We love it around the world. That theme is now going out in about 100 countries. So it's truly an around the world piece.
That is amazing.
I love it. You mind if I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, Daraj.
As we're talking about mentors, I mean, it struck me. One, we have a panel full of really strong, influential women, and I've been a direct benefactor of that my entire career. One of the first mentors that I had was a lady by the name of Audrey Chisholm. She's an attorney, and she was the first person to help me understand a little bit more about the industry when I wasn't even looking, to be signed to a label or anything. She helped me negotiate my first deal. I was able to, license my first project to the label instead of them owning, my masters outright. And so she just helped, put me in a certain position to have, more leverage going on. And even further in my career, my first more formal manager, Amanda Small with Good City Music, was one of the first people that really championed me and helped me believe in myself even more as an artist, and helped me to, even stand firm in different business endeavors. And so she really advocated for me and went to bat. And so, I love that we're doing this for, Women's History Month to highlight it, because, having even Steph here, like Steph in the short amount of time that we've known each other has served as a mentor for me. I've learned so much. So this is like really beautifully like a full circle even for me. But so I just had to share that. Like, I love that we're doing this.
I love that you did that because, it's no secret to any woman on this stage that a lot of women are not celebrated as much as they should be, and they're often overlooked, as mentors or leadership positions. And I wanted to make this more of a celebration tonight than a complaint about that, but I don't want that to go unsaid or unnoticed. So I kudos to that for sure.
It's awesome. Alyssa, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no problem. This is amazing. I love just hearing about everyone's stories because, again, as Steph always says, we are all just humans, right? Be human. um, well, at this time, it's really no secret that there are a lot of challenges to get your place in the music business and to establish who you are. And as Steph said, we're not here to focus on what went wrong or why people aren't getting certain positions right now. But I do want to ask the women on the stage, is there anything that you are doing within your organization to help give other women, I would say, a leg up so that they don't have to experience the negatives that you experienced? And I would love to hear from Irene.
Hi, Alyssa. How you doing?
Good. Long time.
I
How
know,
are you?
seriously. Well, I work in a company that is all women, and we have one guy. And the company I worked at for 7 years, we ended up always hiring women. And it's not that there weren't great guys; it's just the woman was always the best kind of fit for us. So I think when I've been out of like more of the corporate world and I was more in the role of running things, really have focused on hiring women. And really just trying to treat them differently than I've experienced in my career, and dealing with mainly men that I dealt with prior to that time. That's how we do it. We really do mainly hire women. Not to say we wouldn't hire a guy, but every time we interview someone, the woman just always has been the right fit for us. So it's just kind of what's happened, and it's been amazing.
Definitely a fit per project for sure. Allison, did you have something to say? I saw your mic turn off.
Yeah, well, I'm similar to Irene. I could just speak from a company that has women in high positions. It makes such a difference as a woman coming up in the industry to just see that others have paved the path before and it's possible to be in these bigger positions. Peer has a really interesting history with this. Ralph Peer, who founded the company in 1927, married Monique Peer, and she was always very involved with the company. She was kind of the social one between the two. So she was responsible for making a lot of important relationships. She also spoke several different languages, including Spanish. And she really believed in Latin music coming to America and being as big as it became, which is a huge part of our history. So she was really the reason that we signed some of our biggest catalog writers now, like Augustin Laura and Consuelo Vasquez, who wrote Bésame Mucho. She's also a female composer. And then she became CEO of our company in 1960 after he passed away, which I can't even imagine what that must have been like for her as a woman CEO in 1960. And then today, women in highest positions in our company still, our CEO is Mary Megan Peer, Monique and Ralph's granddaughter. Our president and COO is Kathy Spamberger. The head of our Latin department is Yvonne Drazan. So it's always just kind of naturally been a fit at Peer. And again, it just makes a big difference as a woman coming up in the company. It's so comfortable and inspiring.
Thank you. Amy, do you have anything on this note?
Sure. Yeah, I think our team in particular, our Latin team, is very much female forward. We're mostly women on the team. In fact, one of my amazing colleagues and somebody I consider to have mentored is down in the audience. You can say hi to Yendi. She's our amazing A&R. And so I think it's no secret to anybody who follows the news that we have had new leadership for the last couple of years at Sony Music Publishing, and it is definitely a corporate message that we have equality in all areas, be it female leaders and amplifying all voices, and that's a difference that I know that we've all definitely seen and appreciated in the past couple of years. But kind of jumping back to also mentoring. I think that that's been a key. That's been a key for me in my career, and also in seeing the younger people come in and saying, okay, we're going to help pave the way for young women, especially who come in, to have it easier than we did when we started. And our great female songwriters. We can't, we mentioned Elena earlier, and I think that's also a great example. Jizzle's another Sony writer, so also finding those opportunities, and that's something that I know Steph is passionate about, and one of the big conversation points we've had together.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Amy, because one of the things that I would love to hear from you guys, or gals, I should say, is, I think you just all touched on what's changing for us as executives, but I'm going to put my creative hat on and say, what excites you about initiatives that you've seen, or what things are you doing or looking for to help, women and BIPOC creators really across the spectrum? And is on that note, are there any artists that are exciting you?
Was that for me, Steph?
That's for anybody, but Amy, you can start because you have a bunch of good ones. Actually, we should give a shout out to Allie, who's in the audience. Where is she still here? Allie J.
Is she down there?
Yeah, Allie J is still there.
There's Allie. Yep. Hey, Allie. We should bring her up on stage later.
I'm going to ping her in a minute.
Allie's amazing. I've gotten to work with Allie my entire career. When I started as an intern at Universal, Allie was a Universal artist. I then got to be her publisher over at UMPG and now at Sony Music. So I've been fortunate enough to have her amazing talent for many years. We'll let her talk later and she can tell you about herself. We have Charlene, Elena, Claudia Brandt. The list of songwriters on the Latin side is huge, and on the English side as well. So it's exciting. I think, Steph, some of the projects we've discussed about just being able to find more opportunities and clients being willing to listen. And a lot of our female producers.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Amy. And I want to say for our Clubhouse audience that even having Amy and Allison, two, technically competitive publishers with each other, they all have to work together sometimes because they might rep a song from, 50% written by one artist on their team and then 50% by the other, or sometimes it's 10% or 25%. So they're all pretty friendly with each other, but it's not usual for a songwriter like I get to be what I call publisher agnostic, and I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity where I get to work with multiple publishers. Most of the time, in the real world, you have to sign to a publisher. You don't get to be non-exclusive or jumping from one to the other. And I have a unique position, which is not lost on me. But part of the reason why I'm in that position is because some of the executives that I'm working with, like Amy and Allison and Carter, who's down in the audience, and the guys up at Sony New York and things like that, are because they are publishers that are forward thinkers, that are, and along with Amanda, who helps, the intricacies of the legal on this kind of thing, which is not easy to do because we've been in the music business stuck in our ways for so long. These women in particular are carving out a path to make things easier for women and BIPOC creators, and are taking less traditional approaches and getting out of that antiquated style to make exceptions for their women and BIPOC creators so that they can have better opportunities. So I wanted to give you guys your flowers for that, because that's an unusual thing. And, Rachel and Alex on the stage are two women who have created opportunities for those creators. So hopefully before the end of tonight, our Control Camp audience can see it takes a village, to make it happen. It takes a team to kind of make this whole thing come together. So I just wanted to give you your flowers for that, but I appreciate it. Alex, what are you guys doing in your camp to, change things for women and BIPOC creators?
So something I've always done, and I know other studios are now have now followed suit, but I like to say that we're one of the first. Is I always do everything blind, which has really been an incredible tool for leveling, leveling the playing ground and allowing women and you know, other people of color, other, you know, to have these opportunities. And it's even right now been even more amazing because it's a company-wide initiative. So before I started it, wasn't a company-wide initiative. I just did everything blind. And if they chose a female composer that they really liked, but their friend who they've, you know, who scored a bunch of different shows for them happened to be, you know, a white male, the executive producer would just say, you know what, I know that woman was really great, but I really still want to hire my friend. And the studio would allow them to just hire their friend. And I have to say that, you know, over the past, you know, 6 months to a year, the studio itself is really changing their perspective and wanting to hire more diverse people on our series musically. And so when it is a blind test and my executive producer says, yeah, I know, you know, this person, you know, of color really did it best, but I still want to hire my friend, I now have the back of the studio to say no. You know, the other person had a stronger creative, and we think that you should go with them. And that's been really game changing for us. I mean, like I said, I think that we have one of the most diverse rosters of composers and songwriters and producers because we've been doing it blind for so long. But now that I have, you know, the other studio executives behind me saying, no, 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 Alex, you know, let Alex do her magic and bring it to you blind and just choose the right person, the right music for your series, and not because they're a friend of yours or not because you've worked with them 100 times, but try someone new, has really been a game changer for us.
That's amazing to hear. And actually, from a creator position, we've always been really grateful for that, that you have done things blind, because even though, like, you, no secret, I'm friends with Alex, right? So it's nice to know that there's no chance of Alex giving us a gig because we're friends. Like, if we win it, we win it.
I love you, but that's just, yeah, you get it because you're the right person for the project, not because we're friends or not because someone else is friends. It's really about finding the right creative voice for a show or a marketing gig, whatever it is.
By the way, it cuts both ways. Sometimes I'm like, Alex, I really want the show. And she's like, too fucking bad. It's not yours. So it happens both ways, but we are hip to the fact that it is totally blind, which again is validating in the other position too. Alyssa, you want to hand out the next question?
Yeah, one last note I do want to say is one thing that I've tried my best to do is to let my employees, and I guess more specifically female employees, know that they can come to me if they have questions. Of course, I don't have all the answers, but it's good to let your employees or the people you work with just know that you're there as a tool and somebody who wants to help them if they, you know, run into any issues or questions within the company. I know sometimes that's hard, and as the person who is hiring these people, there's always that level of fear, right? Because I hired them and I can fire them, but I want to break down that barrier, because when I was starting, there was a little bit of a barrier there because you didn't necessarily know if you could ask questions, right? So I think it's just important to let the people know who you're working with that it's okay to ask questions, because nobody's perfect, especially when you're starting out. You're going to make so many mistakes, and just lessening that fear has actually been really helpful in retaining people, because they feel valued and they feel like they're able to come to you with questions. So just wanted to say that.
I love that. And I hope our Control Camp audience who's listening can also take that as an opportunity to remember that don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of times creators are put in this position where they really feel like they're bugging the person who's offering them the gig. And it's good to not be annoying, for sure. And like I said, always be a human. But if you're really confused about something, believe me, that executive's going to want you to ask them that question rather than you mess up something, you know, creatively or legally and waste all of their time and your time. So don't be afraid. And before we get into the next question, Alyssa, I'm just going to have Daraj do a quick reset because we're close to 6/9 o'clock.
Awesome. Yes, it's such a great, enriching conversation. We really appreciate you, ladies. For everyone just joining us, we are Control Camp. Welcome. We're a community built for artists, singers, songwriters, composers who want to get their music into TV and film for sync licensing. I'm one of your hosts, Diraj, and joining me are my amazing co-hosts, Eric Campbell and Steph Fink. Between us, we've had years of experience in the music industry, creating and pitching songs that have been used in TV, film, commercials, games, ads, trailers, you name it, for some of your favorite brands. And so we do this room every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're just joining in and you missed us, or you missed the majority of our conversation that we started earlier at the top of the hour, no worries, because we do record our rooms. And our Wednesday rooms are geared to just have real conversations with industry gatekeepers. As you can see, we have a lot of really, really great and reputable ladies here on stage with us for our Wednesday, closing out Women's History Month. And so we give a time where we have a Q&A with them, and then later on, we allow you to come on stage and ask whatever questions you have pertaining to some of the topics that we'll touch on during this talk. So make sure you stay tuned. And also, we have just a lot of resources for all of the creators in their journey with sync licensing. So if you visit controlcamp.com, it's spelled CTRLcamp.com. The link is in all of our bios. There, if you swing over to the Sync 101 page, you'll find all of our resources that we have, in addition to our Patreon, where you can get PDF resources, as well as our past room replays and topics that we discussed. So a lot of rich information over there. So make sure you check it out. If you aren't already, follow our club and just stay up to date with the new rooms we have up and coming. And with that being said, welcome to the camp. Today's session, we've been having a really, really engaging conversation with some of the top music execs in film, TV, and animation. And it's, as I mentioned, it's really special. We get to close out Women's History Month in this way. So I want to kick it back over to, I think, Alyssa, to keep this conversation going.
All right, thanks, Daraj. So one of the things that I would love to hear from the ladies on this panel is in relation to pivoting your business model due to COVID. So as we all know, this past year has brought a lot of challenges and a lot of questions, and we've all found ourselves in positions of asking ourselves, what are we doing now and what are we doing next? And I think it's important for us to talk about these business pivots because we've all been faced with it this past year. And I would love to hear from, either Allison or Amanda, we haven't heard from you in a while, just about how you guys have either been forced to pivot or how you've been managing that. And if you have tips for people in the audience who are finding themselves in a similar position. You want to take that, Allison?
So, sorry, can you repeat the question? You're asking how we've had to pivot in the industry?
Yes, if you have had to pivot during COVID at all, and how have you managed that?
Sure. I have to say, the film and TV community it's been an okay place to be in terms of the music industry. The show's kind of gone on, no pun intended. But luckily, we have these streamers now like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu who have these full seasons recorded so far in advance that we did have kind of enough in post to get us by during the pandemic. We definitely saw a lot more free time. And our artists and songwriters, of course, they weren't able to tour. They weren't able to be in sessions together, which we really saw as an opportunity in film and TV to teach them about writing for sync and connect them with people who are sync-driven writers that they might not have had the time to work with otherwise. So yeah, I would say that's one major pivot. We were working a lot more with our artists to write sync-focused projects, and we're thankful to have that time with them.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, one of the things that we found before I pass it off to you, Amanda, is the fact that we've been doing so many Zoom writing sessions. And this is something that we actually did with Steph. And another artist on our roster named Shalea, as well as Jason Gleed in the audience. They wrote a song together called Grace, and it was just interesting because we had the ability to pair artists who we may never have paired before. So it was just a really interesting experience. I don't know, Steph, if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, Shalea is way above my pay grade talent-wise, so I don't know that I ever would have gotten in the room with her. I think that's the funnest part about COVID, if we could say anything was fun about COVID, because it really wasn't fun at all. But the coolest thing about the pandemic was that it really leveled the playing field and made everybody kind of open. And as much as I'm joking, half joking about what I just said, an artist like Shalea, Shay's down in the audience, they're going to bring her up in a few minutes. Shay is usually touring 300 nights a year. So it's like literally getting her in the studio to write was just a hard thing to do because she was just on the road. That's almost impossible. And nobody would have wanted to do remote sessions like that from the road before. But I think we just, sucked it up, figured it out. And now we're totally into it. And now, even though as we get vaccinated and as we get, the world opens up again, we're still finding ourselves pretty much remote because who wants to drive to Burbank from Santa Monica? Not me. So it's like a nice thing that kind of happened there.
Yeah, thank you. Amanda, do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, my world changed drastically. I'm a lawyer, so being in front of a screen all day is just, it shifted from being in an office in a collaborative environment to being isolated and alone, right? But that being said, there's a lot of, as Steph was saying, if there's any good that could have come of this, it's that you're seeing a lot more collaboration, a lot more people breaking through. From a perspective of what I do for a living, it's interesting because the way that I would go about business development and finding new clients and things was really going out into the world. And so that is drastically shifted. But that doesn't mean that things have slowed down at all. They haven't. So it's a really interesting time, but at the same time, it's definitely taking a lot to get used to.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just kind of about staying ahead of the curve and just being willing to adapt and just able to. Jizzle, I actually would love to hear from you as an artist, just to give tips to other artists in the audience, if you've had any success with pivoting, I guess, how you normally create with other artists, and if you want to share any of that with the audience.
My background's a little loud right now. You let me know how it sounds. If this works, then I will. But if not, I'll just wait until.
That's
That's
totally
okay.
We got you. We hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for me, when COVID's been cool, definitely like the remote thing it's been a little hard because I do prefer like energy and vibe. But like Steph said, it's much easier to like kind of connect those dots around the world and internationally. Like I just did a session last week with a guy in London, new producer, just got a cut on Drake. And I probably wouldn't have been able to do that session, had it not been for COVID and just like, the logistic areas. So it's definitely not the traditional sense and not has, for me, not as easy to adapt, but I treat it like a new muscle. And I think it's going to be cool if you can really like use this time to develop like the discipline and attention muscle. So for me, it's been that like just being able to do the things that don't feel supernatural to me, but I still do it because it'll make me a stronger writer and give me the chance to grow through collaboration.
G, tell us, did you just say Drake?
Oh yeah, I did say Drake. I was working with a producer. He just got a cut on Drake, so I was saying he was based in London.
For the audience, because they don't know you yet, and because you didn't get to do your introduction, let me kind of give you a little insight into Jizzle, which is why my head explodes and melts every time I'm not only on a stage with this woman, but just or these women on the stage, but in my life. Jizzle is a prolific songwriter who's written for Kanye, Diddy, Snoop, Ty Dolla, Chris Brown, Oh man, if they're basically have a perspective in hip hop, she is written for them at some point in her career, and then R&B, pop, crossing over into kids stuff. G's definitely pitched for Alex at DreamWorks before, and one thing I think, if you'll allow me, G, is to also say that for all the people in Control Camp and our audience who are just trying to start out, even as prolific as a songwriter as Jizzle is, she's still on pitches with us, grinding every day. She's not only just in the studio writing for huge artists, but she is constantly, upping that game and, pitches just like the rest of us. So that game never really changes.
No, that's true, and I love it too. I feel like, I think about like staying power, especially like, in the music industry. If you want to do this and if it's your passion, they say if you find something that you love to do, you never work a day in your life. But also, it's like that journey is gonna come with changes, and it's about keeping yourself motivated and interested. And for me, like I love a challenge, so like the TV and film space for me has just been like, okay, well, I've always had an interest in it, but like, how far can I go in this? Where can I grow? And so pitches and briefs and working with new creatives and executives and trying to make an idea come to life. That's always been my vibe. I love big ideas and projects and to be involved from inception to the end and helping things grow. So yeah, like Steph said, it's just like you have to be enthusiastic about it and try to find different ways to bring that same hustle and fire to every situation.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that wasn't take anything away from Jizzle. It's just, I just want you guys to understand, because we try to keep it real in here. It's like that game doesn't change. She's also one of the most prolific writers to brief I've ever worked with, in terms of being able to hand off a brief and making the most insane. There's many times we're in a session together where I'm just like, how are you going to make this interesting? How are you going to talk about this company wants us to write about a fucking frying pan. Sorry, excuse my New York French. How are you going to write about that? And she'll always find a way to do it, which is super cool, because I'm a little pessimistic when it comes to that kind of stuff sometimes. And she's always like, don't worry, we'll do it, and manages to do it. So it's kind of an amazing thing. Before we continue, what I want to do is, to our topic before of mentors, I also want to talk about allies. As women, it's not, again, lost on us that we're not the first pick in the world. Female producers or women producers represent only 2.6% of our industry. Songwriters only represent 12.6% of the industry. And sadly, during COVID, that actually got pushed further back. So those numbers actually were on a decline a little bit. And same thing for executives. We're not a huge representation. We are the exception and not the rule when it comes to the music business. So part of the way I have been able to do that, aside from, working with all these amazing women, is there's other amazing people on our team, both male and female. So I'm going to bring some of those kids up. And then while I do that, we're going to open up the floor for questions, but I'm going to have those people on the stage as well to be able to answer kind of questions with the group. But before I do, is there anything, before I open up to the wild west of our Control Camp audience, is there anything that any of the women on the stage want to kind of round out the night by saying? No pressure, just curious. Any last remarks before we get into questions?
I will say one last thing, actually. Just on the previous note about, kind of doing the work that you kind of have to do. One of the mottos that we have at Quincy Jones Productions is, you must have humility with your creativity and grace with your success. And it's very important for us, because it doesn't really matter how big you get as an executive or an artist. You still should treat your success with grace, and carry yourself in that manner. And it'll help you land more gigs too, because once you start getting a big head, people don't really want to work with you. And we've had many of those experiences. So it's just important to always keep that in mind.
I love that. Anybody else? All these quiet women. Come on, you guys. Nothing?
I'll say something.
Yeah.
You brought up some of the percentages and stuff like that. And I think like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago is when Annenberg put their study out. And I just think that was very important for people to truly understand what the numbers look like, especially when it comes to female producers. And I believe those are public, right, Steph? Like anyone can look those up and kind of read that report.
Irene's actually talking about the study that I'm quoting. So that's the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative at USC. They did a study of a decade worth of women and BIPOC creators in the entertainment industry. And they also do just women in the industry. And they also do just Black in the industry. So they do a couple of different studies, and they did them in, across different parts of the entertainment business, both behind the camera, in music, in billboard, artists and things like that. And those were really sobering numbers, I think. And I think people I've had this conversation with almost every person on this stage as a woman. I think we all kind of go, oh, it must be like, we know it's not equal, but we think, oh, maybe it's 60-40 or 70-30 or even 80-20. But to read that statistic and know that we're 2.6%, less than 3 it made me want to throw up. I actually felt like I got kicked in the stomach. It was really gross. And that's where, Alyssa and Irene and Rachel and Amy and Amanda and all these amazing women helped me, kind of brainchild Major Minor, which is an initiative that we're doing. Again, it's not really public yet, but what's a couple 100 friends in Clubhouse, we're doing an initiative that our catalog is written by and or produced by at least 50% or more women and BIPOC creators. So that just means if you're a white guy, you can still write on this, but everyone else can also have an equal seat at the table. That's all that's saying. So we found that inclusion initiatives tend to be a little exclusionary sometimes. So we wanted to create environments where we could have, writers work together. We also noticed, and I'd love to hear from you guys before we bring everybody else up, if you feel the same way, women and BIPOC creators, and when we were looking at barriers to entry, don't always get the same opportunities as our white male counterparts. And in order to get experience, you need to get a gig. But in order to get a gig, you have to have experience. So it's this weird chicken or the egg thing.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's just, have you guys seen that or experienced that at all for your creators or for yourselves?
Go ahead,
Steph?
Rachel.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say, I've been kind of following on in that I find that what I am inspired by is the people coming up, the ones who are looking, to break in or have just gotten that first level, aren't afraid to have a voice. And I think that that's something that for women, and especially in people of color, our voices have more been quieted. Like, we might have, the first couple of times you get knocked down, I think most of us kind of then got quieter. And it took a longer time for me, at least, to be like, no, I'm at this table. I have a voice that matters. And I'm going to make sure that you at least listen to it. You may not agree with it, but at least you listen to it. And I find that, I find younger people are sharing their ideas more, but that also people are more open to hearing them. And I think that if nothing else, the last couple of years has almost made people go, even if it's just optics, they're like, oh, I better at least listen to this. And then, so I think that it's still got a long way to go, but I feel like at least voices are starting to be heard, and any kind of voice. I'm talking about, like, I have interns who have great ideas that end up sometimes in our, in the content I'm producing, because they've the light bulb went off and we're like, oh my God, that was a great way to end that, do a punchline there and stuff. And so I say, don't be afraid to have a voice. Know that it matters.
I love that. That's amazing. I'm starting to ping up some of our other, amazing creators and people that we work with, and some of our allies. You see Jaden is a regular up here, but Jaden's been sending us briefs and stuff for this. Allie, who we were talking to. Allie, is it your birthday today? Am I making that up? Did I see that somewhere on the internet?
It was only a few days ago. It was March 28th, but I just kind of posted about it today. On Instagram, because Instagram is weird, when it comes to birthdays, like, unless you like post yourself,
Yeah, well, happy birthday from all of us at Control Camp.
Thank you.
And for those of you in the audience, Ali J is an amazing writer, and she was one of my pandemic finds. And we got to do a Zoom session, and we've gotten to write and pitch multiple songs together, and we've never gotten to meet each other in person. So
that is so weird.
Yeah, it feels
I
weird because we're
feel
buddies.
like we have, yeah.
but we haven't. And I'm bringing Jason Gleed. He was one of my first allies. Smart enough when I was an executive, writing songs. I didn't know I was writing songs, or I did, but I was really saying, "Hey, I'm a manager and an A&R at the time, and I don't need to take credit for this because that's what a lot of women do." And Jason was the guy who stepped up and said, "Hey, you rewrote half of that song." Actually, it was a song for Alex Nixon at DreamWorks. And he said, "You need to take credit for it." And it was a pitch that we did that we won. And then they changed the direction of the song, and then we repitched together and won it again together, which was super cool. But that was one of my first songs back into songwriting, and that was through Alex Nixon and because of Jason. So I think allies are super important. And of course, you all know Shalea, the incomparable, amazing, not only vocal talent, but one of the reasons I brought Shay up to the stage is because we've had many conversations about being a woman in the industry, and she's also hipped me to what it's like to be a woman of color in the industry, because it's a completely different perspective. And every time I hear someone else's story, my head explodes. But she is, well known for being an amazing singer. But what I noticed is that she is often overlooked as the incredible songwriter, piano player, musician, just all of the things in addition to being a performer. So Shay, welcome to the stage. And then I think what we'll do now is, as everybody gets situated, we're going to open up hand raising. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. Eric, I'm going to let Eric tell the rules of kind of how we do things in Control Camp for asking questions.
Cool. Yep. Hand raising is now turned on. So if you want to come to the stage, ask a question, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll start pulling people up that way. And then the way we do it, we have about 45 minutes left now. It's 9:16. We go till 10 o'clock. So we'll try to get in as many questions as we can. And because we have a big panel and also a big room, to keep things flowing, we ask everybody to ask one question. No big setup or anything. Just kind of come right to the question. And then once you ask the question, we'll put you back into the audience. So there won't be any follow-up, just one question. And then if someone on stage needs a follow-up, then we'll pull you back. But we find that this helps things move pretty quickly. And then we like, even if it's a good question, we ask the people on the stage to let's limit the responses to just probably like no more than 3 people responding to one question, so we can try to get in as many as we can. And with that, I see some people in the queue, so I'm going to bring them up. Once you come on stage, please remember to mute your microphone. And then we'll start that way. Give me a second, just pulling people up. All right. Let me PTR. All right, Frankie, I got you up first. Frankie, you got a question? You're still muted. I see you.
Okay, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing? I see you new to Clubhouse.
Absolutely. One of my friends introduced me a couple of days back. I do a lot of hip hop, been writing and performing for a while now. But my question is, I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to get my music heard by a music exec or A&R, someone. I've been doing this for a while. I put a lot of effort into it, so I'm just trying to find out the easiest way. I'm having a hard time.
Are you asking for executives in sync specifically, or just in the music industry in general, or like for hip hop artists?
Just in the music industry. Well, just really, I'm a hip hop artist. I mean, but I write all types of music, but I'm definitely a hip hop artist. I perform. I did a few shows and so forth. I got I put my profile up. I got a video. I just shot my first video a few days back, so I'm waiting for editing. That should be up by the 9th of April. So these are things that I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to, get right in there and meet somebody, anybody, But it seems like it's a process. I'm from Massachusetts, so I have to travel a little bit to get to people. But I'm trying to get there,
Gotcha. I got you. Since you're starting out, I know there's like a manager or two on stage. So somebody just wants to, if you were just counseling a new person, brand new to the industry, how to get started, how to meet people in a brief answer, would somebody, management or publisher want to tackle that? How would you approach that?
I mean, I would say just making sure you're on every platform. Like I find stuff on TikTok, I find stuff on SoundCloud. I mean, that's really the main way at this point in a lot of ways. That's kind of, we're all out there just kind of on every platform searching for stuff, and just the most interesting content that you come up with. That's what people look for. I would say that's one of the best ways.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Daraj.
Yeah, and I would say too, Frankie, if you're interested more about how to get your music into TV and film, which is what Control Camp is really centered around. We would love to have you check out our website, controlcamp.com, CTRL camp. And there we have a lot of resources on, what it takes, how to approach the right people, the steps that it takes, the different deal types. And we also have past recorded rooms that center around these conversations and these interviews that, again, I just keep saying it's just really rich in content. So if you're looking to, also travel on that journey with having your music and TV and film as a hip hop artist, which I can, I can relate to, Jizzle on the stage can relate to as well. Eric, we definitely encourage you to check that out. It's definitely a space for you. So yeah, we appreciate the question, Frankie.
Awesome. Okay, let's keep things moving. Mark, we got you next. How are you doing? Also new to Clubhouse. Hey, Mark, you are unmuted. You might have to hit your microphone to unmute.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Guys, girls. Hey, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I think I'd just like to hear from one or two people. Well, I'll tell you what we're doing so you understand my question. I have two guys I write with, and we started in March last year, so it was kind of a COVID baby as well. And it was interesting to hear about the advantages people have found from the COVID thing, and I've experienced that as well. I have about 10 years experience going back and forth and living in Nashville, and was mainly doing trying to do the writing for country, and then I decided to do sync. So my sync question is, as a group, we have gotten a few contracts, and we've gotten very high up in some of these contests and things. So I feel like we're on the right track. But we write everything, and I wonder if we're too spread out. A lot of people say, write what you know, or, write what you think you're best at. And I don't know what we're best at, because we write a lot of stuff, and I think most of it comes out pretty good, not to sound arrogant, but you know what I'm saying? So I think the question is like, what do you see that's needed the most? So, the singer-songwriter stuff, the most that they're looking for, BIPOC, or is that even a question that can be answered?
You want to know for all the stuff that you're writing, are all the genres open in sync, or should you be focusing on like one specific narrow thing, like just singer-songwriter, or is there a more popular?
As we're starting out and we're just dying for that first placement.
Right. So I think we got that. Yeah. Which is a good question. So if and I'm going to open it to the floor, and we do have some standard responses, but if anyone thoughts on, is there a favored genre, or all things sync? Good music only is the general rule, or should new writers be focused on particular genres?
I think it's okay to send a sampler with several genres if that's really how you feel confident sending it. I would also suggest asking people outside of your group that's working on everything what they think. And maybe don't be afraid to ask people, even who you're sending it to, what's standing out to them. And that will let you know what you have that's working that you could focus on for your future pitches.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Kristen, Motor Girl up next. How you doing, Kristen?
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much, Steph, Eric, and Daraj for having this room. Everyone has had so many wonderful things to say. And I just actually have a question. It's actually I wanted to make a comment about, and I can't remember who said this. Just loved hearing the story about your mentor that just talked with you and told you stories, and then you were inspired to write those shows. I'm so sorry, I don't know who that
That was Rachel.
but that was Rachel. Rachel, that was amazing. And I was just wondering if anyone else had an inspiring story of how you were moved to create something new. It could be a business idea, or if you're an artist, something for yourself.
Irene, I want to call you out for this because you're developing a TV show, and I want you to talk about what gave you the crazy idea to do that and what inspired you.
Crazy life.
So Irene is an amazing manager, as you guys know. She's also responsible for some of the top music in the history of pop music. Songs from like Katy Perry and Britney Spears, and both male and female. She's pretty prolific, and she's been an executive behind a lot of different records. But I'm curious, similar to what Kristen says, of what made you start going into this creative path. She's also an amazing artist. She's been doing artwork for a lot of different artists, and people don't know that it's her. So I'm wondering, would you give us a little insight on what started to kind of push you back into the creative direction?
I guess just after doing music for so long, I'm not going to say I was bored, but you just kind of want to do different things. You want to take it in different directions because, I've been in labels, I've been in publishing, and I've been in artist management. So I kind of, at one point, you feel like you've kind of done it all. So like, what else can I do? And that's really where it came from. And also just, I didn't feel like I saw something on television that talked about the music industry that really represented what I had experienced. And I felt like there was a huge gap that was missing. And I just wanted to kind of figure out if I could fill that.
I love that. I'm a huge fan of the both in creative and business. If you're filling
and don't not misunderstand that Stephanie has done this with me. So she's acting like it's just me, but no, we did this together.
She ropes me into it. But in fairness, I jumped into producing a movie after doing music for so long. I got to be on the film side and actually produce a movie about Michael Jordan. And I suckered Irene into being an associate producer on it with me because neither of us knew how to be producers. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pull in my team because that's what we do. We figure it out and we call each other.
Exactly.
I love that question. Does anyone else on the panel have any other kind of creative or business things? Jizzle, if your mic's not too hot, I'd love for you to talk about Zen Thug to our group. Jizzle's in Belize, so she's like, kind of in and out. But Jizzle, I'll speak for her. She created an amazing brand called Zen Thug. Oh, there she is. Do we have you, G?
We did. No, we don't.
All right. Well, you should check it out. She created an amazing brand called Zen Thug. She happens to be a pretty healthy eater and a pretty healthy mind, spirit, body, voracious reader as a human being. And she decided to create a brand. We all called her Zen Thug. And now she's got an amazing brand around it. And she does monthly meditations or, daily meditations for people and hosts amazing things like that. So, I think it goes back to being a human, being a whole human. Not everybody's just a songwriter, which is why I encourage everyone in our camp always to try to learn about these people as humans and build relationships instead of just, asking, what can you do for me?
Awesome. All right, let's continue on. We got a nice little queue building up. Hassani, you got a question.
Yeah, thank you, my man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the panel, for being here. I wanted to speak to Shalea. She's one of my mentors growing up in church, so it would have been like a reunion for me. But anyway, I had a question about specifically like sync licensing as a songwriter. So I'm looking to like put my songs into film, TV, and different forms of entertainment. So like, what specifically is a good avenue for me to go down?
Say that again. What's a good avenue to get your songs into sync in general?
Yeah, like what's like a what's the basic fundamentals like to get them, placed in different things.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the quickest way to answer that will be, so we have this. There are like a few different channels for placing music. If you're writing music, you can pitch it directly to different networks or film producers or composers. You can work through a third party, which is what a lot of our guests have actually recommended as a more direct route. So working with either like a music library or a sync agent or a publisher, having a relationship with someone who already has relationships with the various media outlets. That's a one of the strongest ways. And so, if you want to know more about that, we actually have a resource on the site called 4 Steps to Getting Your Music Placed This Year, and we go through the differences between libraries and agents and some of the terms that you may not be familiar with. So definitely, you can check that out for more.
I'd love to have, if I can, just ask, let Rachel answer this one too. Rachel, being in the position of someone who, hires for music, on occasion, what's your kind of protocol over there?
So basically, for the most part, call you.
Well, I love that answer.
Or someone like you. But I mean, I will say that technically, my first port of call. So if I'm doing, excuse me, a quick piece of content, is to go to our Viacom music library. So we have an in-house music library database, and so we'll go through that because we know we already have to use it and we can do something quickly. Excuse me. Of course, I took a drink of water right as like stuff calls my name, but that doesn't answer the project stuff referenced before was I had done an opening title sequence. Now I'm not going to want to use a standard piece of music for that. I'm going to want something custom just for me, and so then that's when I do call Steph and Music Box and work with her to get something custom made for us. So it's one of those of, is this just going to be in and out? We might use the music library. And so that has a whole submission process to it. But if we want something that's really going to stand out or be a special piece, then we do contract out to have it made for us.
Thanks,
Hope
Rachel.
that answered that.
Yeah, you did. And I picked on Rachel for a good reason because 2 weeks ago, we had 2 amazing women from the CBS Viacom Paramount family, which Rachel is also a part of in a different department. And Rachel's actually referring to the library that those 2 were the music supervisors for. So I encourage everyone to kind of go back and dig into the Control Camp website and kind of look that up and tie that together. And Rachel brought up another thing. She's not just being nice to me by saying we call Steph. A lot of large companies that are the size of a Viacom or Nickelodeon, oftentimes, if they're not making stuff for their catalog and they're doing some custom work, really have to validate the people that they're working with. And it requires special insurance as a creator and a lot of things that just take a lot of years of expertise, to kind of gain. So don't be frustrated. I say it's good to partner with other people or other music houses or other co-writers that kind of can help you get to that level. Yeah.
Steph, if I could just also add to that point, studios, we try not to be complicated and onerous and stuff, but as I think you alluded to at the very start of this, certainly our legal departments are a quagmire. The reason we go through people like Steph is that she already knows all the rules of the roads for us and the do's and the don'ts and has learned the ways to navigate. So especially for someone starting out, it's so easy to make a misstep, and sometimes a misstep can have a much bigger consequence because, it's like, oh, that person was difficult and you didn't mean to be difficult. But if I need something done in a hurry and you don't know all the right steps or the right protocol, I might not have the time to shepherd you through it, in which case things could get missed and stuff. And then it just, you might not have the best experience. We might not have the best experience. So that's where having someone with Steph's expertise we know it's going to be a smooth process as much as possible. There's always hiccups. But so I do really, really suggest, going to people like that, to help you through the system.
Awesome. All right, Eric, who's next?
We have KZ. You have a question, or you might just be on stage because you're awesome and you're part of the camp. But you might have a question. I don't want to overlook you.
Hey, Eric. So my question is actually more of like a fun thing. Like I want to hear about, Alyssa mentioned like the whole right brain, left brain thing the other day or earlier. Goodness, I can never talk when I get on here late at night. You guys have me so flustered. But anyways, I guess it was directed more towards Jizzle, but even Amanda mentioned like some of the creative aspects of what she gets to do. And so what are some rituals that you do to kind of get in the vibe after you've had maybe like a full day of doing like the business aspect of things? Like I have some rituals that I do, but as Steph mentioned earlier, sometimes you get a brief about a frying pan and you just like really need to get the vibe right for this and kind of like shake off the day. Like what are some of your rituals?
Wait, before anybody answers, I just want to let you know Jizzle is on Ty's phone. So if you see Ty, that's actually Jizzle.
Yeah. Hey guys, back like I never left. But I think the ritual for me is just that, like, definitely taking time to decompress. I love taking centering breaths, and really just like tapping in and trying to put myself into the mode of whatever the brief is. And if it's about a frying pan, right? I'm trying to be the mom using the frying pan, and just like trying to tap into that. Like I love kind of putting on like that chameleon hat and really, really trying to get into the psyche of whatever I'm doing. Whoever pitched it to me, like gave me the brief, but also whoever's gonna be receiving it. But the most important thing is like I try to designate time. For me, what I've learned lately is that my most creative time, or when I feel most enthusiastic, is like early afternoon. I love to work like 1 to 5, 1 to 8, and because I have the most energy, so I just want to utilize that energy after I've taken the time that I need for myself to kind of tap in and get ready to approach the day. So for me, it's all about my morning practice, which is a shot of Remy every day, reading, exercise, meditation, yoga, and then being ready for the world.
Zen thug, everybody. I love that. Alex, we haven't heard from you in a second. I'm curious because you're also right brain, left brain, super creative talent, and you have some really fun hidden design secrets and such. Would you talk about what you kind of do to, be creative in that realm?
I don't know if I have any rituals per se. I guess my ritual, honestly, I'm so ADHD that I constantly have to have multiple things going on. So when I need to focus and be creative, weirdly enough, I need to listen to music. So when I need to focus, I'll put jazz on, just something instrumental in the background to kind of center me and get me to a place of, okay, I need to focus on this creative brief I need to read, or I need to write, or okay, I need to read this script right now. So that would be probably my ritual. I also have to say another ritual that I have that I think is really important in our world, and we all are badass bitches here, right? Like we work so hard. It's a constant grind, but I've also felt, especially during COVID too, and now that I'm working from home and remote, that it's even more important to separate your time, right? And there's a time for work and there's a time for your life too. And with all of us, music is our life. Like that's just our life. But like I'm pretty good about my last, like at 6 o'clock, I just turn my computer off and I don't look at emails anymore. And if you really need to get me, you can text me. That's how it's going to be. And the other thing, like we work in music, we're not saving lives. We're not doctors. We're not, doing heart brain surgery. Most of the emergencies can wait till tomorrow, and it's going to wait till tomorrow. So, I have in this past year really found my boundaries and found that that's important. So even like in the mornings, I guess it is a ritual, but it's like I go for a walk with my dog, I have coffee, I set my kids up ready to start school at home. And not until that is done will I look at my emails and kind of get ready for the creative day. I don't know if that answers the question, but
totally. I love that. Who has a question next? Eric?
Awesome. I have. Oh, let me refresh. Koichi is on stage as a composer, but I don't want to pass you over, Koichi, in case you did have a question.
I think Steph just pinged me on the
That's
stage.
what I thought.
So
I did say, yeah, no, I knew.
also, hi, Allie.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to overlook you.
Yeah, Koichi and Jess Ruti, I pulled up because they're also allies of ours. So I'm also letting the people in our hemisphere meet each other, because Koichi's an amazing badass producer, songwriter that is also part of Major Minor, and he's also focused in bringing amazing new women of BIPOC creators our way, aside from being one himself, which is super rad. So I'm filling up the stage with our regulars,
Of course.
We also need Koichi to put in his bio that he's a pro Foley air horn.
This is our human air horn. Come on. How could
Always ready.
Amazing.
Always ready.
John
All right, so John Semino is next.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're having a good night. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for all you're doing and for sharing your wisdom and just being like super cool human beings. It's really, I always get so much out of this. I want to kind of circle back to, a few of you talked about your mentors and what you got out of them. If a few of you would mind speaking to, like, what's the most valuable piece of advice that you learned from your mentor? Thank you.
Great question, John.
Ooh, we might have to allow for more than one or two for this. Who's got one? None of you got advice from your mentors. Amanda, I'm going to call you out on this because your mentor is my attorney, who I adore. So I'm gonna call you out on this one.
Well, I was thinking, and it's not really a piece of advice. And I am fortunate enough to work every day alongside my mentor. We talk all day long, and it's just more of a learning. I don't know. It's not really advice that I necessarily get. Although I will say one thing. In my line of work, there's a lot of go back and forth and like negotiating and argument over points. And one thing that has been passed down now through multiple generations of mentors is you won the point, shut up. Stop arguing it.
I love that. That's amazing. And what's super cool is mentors beget mentors. And when I started working with you guys, you had mentioned that Jason, and by the way, Amanda is talking about Jason Karlov, who's an incredible attorney. And Jason Karlov's mentor is Don Passman, who also, not only wrote the book on the music business, but also happens to be Quincy Jones's attorney. So it is one big circle at the top, and everybody kind of knows each other. But what's cool is that we get great advice even from Dawn through Jason through Amanda, and there's kind of nothing more special than that, knowing that stuff's being passed down, and then to hear it from them and then to hear it from Quincy for us is again one of those things that makes my mind melt. So I think it's super cool.
That gem actually came from David Braun, who's passed on now, but he was one of the first entertainment attorneys. And he was Bob Dylan's attorney from the time Bob was a wee lad, and became a record executive, and then wound up going back into the law for the end of his career.
Okay, you won that point, Amanda. I'm not going to tell you to shut up, but you won your point.
You can always.
I love it. Rachel?
I got one to share. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Alyssa. I can wait.
Okay, one thing I did want to say, because you mentioned Quincy, is something that he always tells me, and that is you have to know why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And that's because we need to listen twice as much as we talk. And that's something he will tell anyone and everyone who is working with him. And it is one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten, because so many times in the industry we're put on the spot, right? We feel like we have to know the answer to everything. But sometimes it's okay not to know the answer. And it's okay to be in a room and listen to people who do know more than you, and to accept the fact that people do know more than you, and to continue to learn from anyone and everyone around you. And then when you do know what you're talking about, when you do open your mouth, people are more willing and likely to listen to you, because you don't have a reputation for simply just talking for the sake of talking. Like, they know that you have something valuable to add and something to say. So that's been really valuable in my career, and I just know it's been super helpful with a lot of people we work with as well. And I would suggest that to anyone and everyone, because we're never too old to learn.
I'd like to add one thing to that too, in the spirit of sharing. I think they kind of go hand in hand. But one thing that Puff Daddy told me one time, and it was so crazy because it was like it was said to a room full of people, but it resonated so much with me. I always took it in and I held it. But it was, everything that you need, you already have. And I think that just speaks to, like, a lot of the times you're thinking you need this big break, you need this person to co-sign you, or you need to be in this city and working on this. But literally everything that you need, you already have. And sometimes we have to rely, most of the time we have to rely on our internal resources instead of external resources, and kind of dig deep within first, and then kind of look for that outside help. So for me, that was like one of my biggest takeaways.
And so I, huge names, Quincy Jones and Puff Daddy. But so hopefully this will be kind of in that line. And I think Jizzle, you might appreciate it, which is just one of the things that I learned, and going back to, just a moment from a mentor. So weirdly, I was once filming in a Utah desert at sunset with Matthew McConaughey, and everything was going wrong. We were losing the light. We couldn't get the camera to work. And everyone was freaking out. And we're all just kind of sitting, holding our breath, hoping that, everything's going to align. And Matthew was there, and he just looked at all of us and went, "Isn't this a beautiful moment?" And it made us all just pause. There was sunset hitting the canyon lands of Utah. We're in a gorgeous location. We're really excited about what we're producing. And it made us all take that pause and enjoy it. And I have always remembered that. So no matter what's going on, every now and then, take that moment and just be like, you know what? This is great. My life is great. I'm getting to do something amazing. And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as sunset in the Canyonlands, but I have always found that on every project, a certain moment of the day where I'm like, this is why I do this. And I take that moment. So I would say, don't forget to take the moment.
Guys, I just want to say what a loser I am. Rachel's dropping Matt McConaughey. Alyssa's talking about Q. And Amanda's like, here's Bob Dylan's manager. And it's like, Jizzle's got Puff and everyone else. I'm so blown away by you guys constantly. It's amazing. I have a story, but I'm going to save it for the end because I want to get through some of our next questions. So, Eric, who do we have up next?
We got Colin up next. What's good, Colin?
Hey, everyone. Thank you guys so much for putting this room together. Our industry is so full of mystery, and we never really hear from the other side. So rooms like this really help with demystifying what happens. So thank you again. My question is for Andrea Nicholson and also Rachel. These are people I'd never really get to meet. I'm a BIPOC composer. I've really earned my stripes. I worked on 4 Oscar-nominated movies, including The Life of Pi, that won an Oscar for music. That was with my mentor, Michael Dana. And out on my own scores have gotten like 18 Best Score awards at various festivals. So my question for Alexandra is, I know that DreamWorks has smaller animated shorts that they work on from time to time. I was wondering how they found their composers for those smaller projects like that. And also for Rachel, how do you ever have, I know that, there's so many roles on a film to fulfill and to put people into positions. Is is there ever an initiative to break in new talent?
So I can start off, answer your question and not answering your question. So in terms of the DreamWorks shorts, unfortunately, I oversee just television, and the shorts are handled by our Universal Filmed Entertainment group. So I can't tell you exactly how they choose the composers for the shorts. That being said, I am involved this year with them, who started it, the Universal Filmed Diversity Initiative. And I know that that is in part how they hired someone to do one of their shorts, who then also just got a movie for DreamWorks. And so we're actually in the process right now. I believe the submission is closed. We're having interviews coming up. But I would suggest, I believe they do it every year, that you kind of follow the Universal. I think they post it on their Instagram or their Facebook or LinkedIn. Follow them and apply for that program. And I think that's a huge way of how they put people on shorts. And then in terms of my side for television, we usually reach out to different composers or composer managers to we send out briefs based on kind of what we're looking for, and we ask for a reel back based on that brief. And I would say for DreamWorks television series, we're not your typical animated shows. We are really trying to elevate the music, even obviously with songs, but also in the underscore. And we truly feel like underscore is another main character of our series, and we want to make it unique. So, one thing to really stand out is to make sure you read the brief. And if you don't have anything in your arsenal that matches it exactly, I would say, create a demo, something short, doesn't have to be really long, but that it shows us that you can do that style of music, because we're often genre melding and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how we go about it. And for me, again, we do it blind, and it's totally blind. Like, I don't even have credits. I don't care what your credits are. I don't care if you've ever scored anything or if you've scored a million things. Again, it's like the right person for the project. So I hope that answers a little bit.
And I'll just go very quickly because of time, but similar to DreamWorks, Nickelodeon has an animation shorts program, and it's a global competition, which is not really a competition, but it is pretty much everyone from the short program often gets on an animated show from it, or we have had shows. We're about to launch a show later this year that came from the shorts program. So it's a very small team who runs it. I would reach out through the same. If you follow Nickelodeon Animation on the different social media, they're always announcing the different, competitions open, or submissions, I should say, not competition, open for submissions and updates on it. But then we also have an outreach. If you contact, I don't know our main number, but if you contact and ask for the outreach program, there's a number. There's writing programs, there's the animation programs, but for all the different crews. So composing would be within that as well.
That is great. Great answers. All right, we have less than 10 minutes left, and we have 4 people still asking questions. So we'll stick around to get through these 4, but let's keep it just one question, no follow-up, no part 2, please. Just one question, and just let's go right to this is the question so we can get everybody on the stage addressed. So with that, let's go to Victoria.
Hi, thank you guys so much for taking time. I'm really inspired being surrounded by all you amazing women. My question is, have you guys ever experienced imposter syndrome as a woman in the music industry, and how do you deal with that?
Do anybody? I'll take it if no one wants to take it, but does anybody else want to take up imposter syndrome? Ladies, no? I mean, I feel like an imposter every day, and I can't remember who it was recently that told me to, quote, get the fuck over it. One of my male mentors was like, dude, you're supposed to be here, you're meant to be here, get the fuck over it. But I get it a lot, especially being signed to Quincy Jones, because my contemporaries are Jacob Collier and Shalea and Eric the Architect and Quincy and Asher. I am surrounded by an insane amount of talent who have lots of Grammys and lots of. Quincy's got EGOT. He's got all of the things. But what's interesting is that Quincy's always made me feel really welcome with him and within our camp. Alyssa makes me feel welcome, and our co-writers and other people always feel really welcome. What I've noticed is I'm creating that myself. So I admit that to you to say that a lot of that is really created by us. And I'm not saying it's not external at all and that people don't kind of make you feel that way, but what I've realized in my career is a lot of that is brought on by my own insecurities or my own anxieties or my own things, and sometimes it's a matter of like waking up. And even in a moment like tonight, I was really anxious about this room because I'm, with my colleagues and some of my best and closest friends. And I'm sitting here going, wow, is this my freaking life? That's crazy. Do I belong here? It's something I constantly kind of ask, but somebody smart and a lot of great mentors have told me, Peter Rotter, actually, who's a really amazing contractor in our business. He contracts all the big orchestras for big shows like Handmaid's Tale, or basically if you've done a movie or TV show, you've worked with them and his team at Encompass. He, heard me not accept a compliment. And he said, when someone compliments you or says something in this business, just say thank you. Focus on that. I'm not expecting you to like go into a whole thing, but at least start with not negating someone else's compliment towards you and just accept that you're supposed to be here. And that was like pretty profound for me, so I would say focus on if you're doing that to yourself. And if you're not, and you're getting that, feeling that way because other people are making you feel that way, get away from those people as best you can. There's always better people to work with in this industry. You do not need to work with assholes. That's a common misnomer in our business. Work with people. This stage is proof of that. I'm working with all amazing people. Don't work with people you don't like. Move on.
That's really well said. I completely agree. And just so, from my perspective, I am often hyper aware of the fact that I'm the only woman in any given room. And don't let that, being the only person of any race, gender, orientation, whatever, don't let that make you feel like you don't belong or that you're an other, because you're not. You're in that room for a reason, and you have every right to be there.
Amanda, you make me feel so good about my life.
Love that. That's so good. All right, that was awesome. Jared, you're up next.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jared Olua. My partner and I, we make hip hop music for kids under Coach Cody. Ironically enough, we made a hygiene EP in February of last year before the pandemic hit, so that was crazy. But since that's not a saturated lane of music, doing hip hop for kids, what's the best way to, find out who's looking for original kids content?
DM me. I have some opportunities for you. We're always looking for amazing women and BIPOC creators, and I hire Eric and Duraj and KZ, who was just on the stage, and Jason, and all these people for the opportunities that people like Alex and Rachel create for us. Like I said, Herman got a gig through Nickelodeon through us and stuff like that. So if you can't find those things, then come to us. And by the way, you'd be surprised. There is actually a lane for that. It's harder this year because the way school has been with COVID, but Nick Wiz, who's in the room, who's an amazing producer, who's done like Rockham, has also done full entire like years worth of projects of like kid hip hop stuff where they're doing current events and things like that. So people love that. Schools love it. News stations love that. There is a lane for that, but there's also, lanes for like people like Alex and Rachel. So, some of the programs.
I mean, that's something that, we absolutely would be interested in. So, and we reach out to people like Steph to find that. So it's, definitely something on our radar.
Yeah. So just to pay note to that goes back to what was said earlier, that getting the music out there sometimes requires knowing the third party. who they already have a relationship with, who they already do business with, they already have business arrangements with, they already have a legal process and everything else in place. And so that's another reason why, music houses, sync agents, or different third parties who have relationships is important to consider. Yeah, great question though. Great question.
Yeah, and co-write. I'm gonna say that a million. You guys have heard me say that too.
Yeah.
Co-write with those people. That's the bigger thing, because like we're not a sync agent, right? But you can co-write with the 15 people on our team that do this for a living, and that's a good door into. And there's also a lot of. It's actually a great time to be women and BIPOC creators, because there's a lot of white male composers who've been doing this for a very, very long time who are now hearing, we want diversity, and they're now mentoring people and bringing people into their camps and teams because they're needing to. So I think those jobs that have gone to them before are either not going to them, or if they are, they're being mandated to make things better, like Alex said, and the companies are backing them up for once, which is super cool. So it's a great time for it.
It's something I want. I'm just throwing really this out for Stefan, Daraj, and Alyssa for us to hear, because I think we need to do more things, even in this room, or just bringing these type of things to light, because there's so many talented producers, composers in the camp and in the music communities that we're a part of, who can definitely do, a kid's theme song, or who could produce a theme song to a movie, or could produce underscore. But a lot of times you don't know that's out there, especially if your whole path was chasing after a major label placement. So you just know pop music production and that's what you studied, or you may know composition. But, sometimes it's just a matter of making other people aware that these lanes are there. And then, that leads them to experimenting. And so that question.
100%. And by the way, to that credit, this is probably a really good time to say that if I tell someone in this room to DM me specifically, and I say I can create an opportunity for you, that just means get in touch and don't send any music, don't do anything, just get in touch and be a human, and we'll find the ways to connect the dots. And be really patient, because not only me, but other people are super insanely inundated with not only DMs, but emails and, lots of messages. And sometimes we're working really hard with people like Alex or Alyssa or Rachel to create the jobs. We have a lot of work on our side to do to be able to create those opportunities for you. And that's something that Alex and I were just talking about last week. How do we get, specific opportunities that are less competitive or less, more available, but also still being able to vet the creators that we work with, because we need to know that you're not using samples, and we need to know that you have a certain level of professionalism too, because there's a lot of really talented musicians who aren't at that level yet. And that doesn't mean you can't get there, but we have to find mentorship opportunities for you, or ways to kind of get you up there. It just takes time. So if you don't get an answer back from me or someone else right away, follow up every couple weeks or so, not every day, not the next day, not the next week, but set a reminder in your calendar once a month or something. And, just be a human and reach out and say, hey, I'd really like this opportunity. Has it come up yet? And I guarantee you, everyone who's done that and followed that protocol has gotten to be able to work on something. And a lot of the people in this camp have actually won stuff for people like Alex and for people like Rachel, because they're doing that. Where people fail is not following those directions and being aggressive, or hitting people every day, or DMing directly to our, clients or the people on the stage when we tell you not to, or doing things like that. A lot of people on this stage are not allowed to accept unsolicited music, which means if they don't ask you for it legally, they can't take your music. So don't just fling music into people's DMs. And a lot of people on Instagram are just not doing that for business. They're there to see their, post pictures of their dogs and their kids and nieces and nephews and stuff. So be respectful of that too. Everybody wants to shoot their shot, but, be respectful of those things. And I promise you it'll come around.
Very dope. Very dope. All right. Malaya, thanks for being patient. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. Hi, thank you so much for tonight. I've been so moved and inspired by this amazing panel of women. everything that you said. It means so much. Thank you. Just wanted to ask the female executives, when you're in the boardroom during a major meeting and a major decision or deal is going down, and your senior executive or your boss is making that deal and you don't agree with it and you push back. If you did push back, how did you find your courage to do that and what happened?
I just say what I think. You have to be respectful of who you're working with, but that's just in every aspect of what you're doing. I think you have to be respectful, but your opinion matters. If you think that if there's something that's off or should be done differently, or you have an idea, say it. And it's hard sometimes to have that feeling like you have the ability to do it. But if you're working with people who make you feel lesser, or like your opinion doesn't matter, those aren't necessarily the right people. Find yourself, and I know that obviously some opportunities are hard to come by, but I firmly believe that if you're working with the right people, then they will respect your opinions.
I would also add to that and just say it's important not to confront people in front of other people. That's a very big way to
Absolutely.
get a no immediately. It's because they're going to be on the defense. But if you talk to them privately, maybe after the meeting, then you're more likely to, one, convey your full and complete thought without getting flustered with everyone else looking at you. And also you can have a more relatable conversation and where the person is not just fully coming at you on the defense.
Excellent point.
Yeah, and know your relationships in the room too. If you have the opportunity to stick up for a colleague or a woman or a friend too, and your relationship is different maybe with them than theirs, and you have the ability to speak up, especially if you're the client or if you're in a power position yourself and you see some misdoing, you can kind of do that. And of course, based on the relationship you have, and also like Alyssa said, you can take someone else's side in that and say, hey, I've done that many, many times where I see someone being mistreated and I'll say, and as Alyssa taught me so well, we do that outside of our meetings. We'll just say, hey, I didn't really love how you treated them. And a lot of the answer is like, well, what do you care? I didn't do that to you. I love you. They're being assholes or they're being this. And then I go, well, it's kind of like dating, right? It's like, if I see you treat them like that, then I kind of know that you're going to potentially treat me like that one day. So I find that behavior very telling of people. So I like to let executives or other people know that when I see bad behavior like that, you can almost guarantee that if they do that to someone else, they're going to do that to you. They might not be doing it right now, but it's a good chance that they're going to do that in the future. So it's good to establish boundaries whenever you can and stick up for your, fellow women and other creators, not just women.
Awesome. Okay, last but not least, we got Mickey. Mickey, you there? Unmuted. Going once. Going twice.
You there?
Yeah.
Yo.
Right on time.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's good, man? What's going on?
My stuff was tweaking, man. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm in the studio too, so there's a bunch of background noise. But,
no worries, we can hear you.
So basically, what I wanted to ask, and it was kind of already asked with the advice and whatnot, but I'm trying to potentially find a mentor in this business, and you guys have been talking about mentors this whole time. Just like when I was tuning in and out, I was like, okay, cool. I haven't really thought about getting a mentor specifically for this line of work with Sync, but do you guys have any words of wisdom for people who are new? Like I just started doing and learning about Sync maybe 6 months ago. So what do you guys have to say about trying to find mentors and how that relationship builds? It might just be more of a relationship building one-on-one question. But yeah, that's what's on my mind right now after listening to you guys.
Good question. I mean, my first selfish answer, not selfish, but it's just what's worked for me, I think, for Sync is Control Camp. We've got a community right here where you've got awesome people. Like, Steph has become a mentor to me, and just, has created opportunities for not just me, but other people in the camp. And we have a dynamic and a community where we can feed and give one another, and we share knowledge. Finding a community, and there's numerous ones out there, whether you're in something like Taxi or 6FS or Catch the Moon, or numerous Facebook groups, or other places. If you can Google Sync licensing community, and probably a number of stuff will come up. But this last 5 or 6 months here has just been life changing for a number of people. And so good question to end the discussion with, because Steph, Daraj, I'm grateful that we have all come together to build this. Alyssa, I'm so grateful that you joined us on stage today and just contributed to this amazing discussion with all these amazing people. And Steph, thank you for bringing your friends here. This has been a cool talk. This has just been awesome.
Thanks to my friends. And to answer Mickey's question, I don't think you need one mentor. I think, I've said this before, and I'm going to repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. It's like, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, as smart or smarter than you. And so, like, this stage is representative of all the women and the men who I think are smarter than me or do things that I don't do. So it's not about being able to do everything yourself. It's about, finding the people who can teach you those things or do them alongside them. So as much as I've been a mentor to Eric and Daraj, like, they've, schooled me in a bunch of stuff, and they continue to do stuff. Like, Eric's production chops are well above my own, but my producing skills might be different than his. Jason every day is like literally making me videos of how to use certain things within Pro Tools. Even though he's a Logic guy, he'll like look up an answer and figure it out if I get stuck. Obviously I pay Amanda to do it, but Amanda gives me great advice just about daily, in those things, and really helps me from, stepping on myself. And even when I'm frustrated and want to go through things really fast and not, I often find that even at this level, we don't have a leg to stand on sometimes when we're reading certain contracts from large entities that are, multi-billion-dollar corporations. And Amanda's really good, and so is Jason Karlov, at saying, you know what, you do have a leg to stand on. You just have to say it and you have to stand on it. So, same thing for everybody who, kind of is on this stage. I'm so grateful to every single one of you, and I'm grateful for you being here tonight. And I'm grateful for the opportunities that you're creating for the members of Control Camp and the next generation of women and BIPOC creators. And I love you all so much.
Steph, you did such an amazing job tonight.
Oh, thanks, Jess. We didn't even announce Jess, really. Jess was one of our Control Camp regulars, and she is an independent music supervisor and an amazing ally in the sync space to so many creators, including creating opportunities for us. I mean, Jess is the kind of gal that found an opportunity and with no contract said, hey, I'm going to send this over to you because this is what you do, right? And even when I was like, we need to pay you, she's like, whatever, dude, I can just be you're my friend. I'm just going to send you something. So that is not a normal thing in our music business. So it doesn't go unlocked. Most of the women in this room have learned how to be human beings, because they are wonderful human beings, but have learned to play the game within the industry of not playing the game. And that's why I think they're a really special bunch.
Well, I just want to give you your flowers because your moderation chops are pristine and amazing. And I've been listening here and learning a lot from how you have been moderating. So I'm taking notes. Thank you.
Aw, thanks, Jess. Thanks, Eric and Daraj, for adopting me. Thanks, Alyssa, for co-moderating with us. Alyssa's one of the most amazing writers herself, and we didn't talk about her being the other side of the creative brain today, but she's incredibly good singer and writer, and in terms of books as well, not just songs. She's amazing.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks to everyone else as well.
Just we didn't mention this in the recess, I don't think, but what we usually go from here to our after party, and that is a Control Camp members only room where we kind of breathe and get to know each other, and just kind of going back to relationships and finding mentors. We don't really talk music there. We just chop it up, and there's no panel. There's no being pulled up to the stage. Anybody can come on the stage and talk and ask questions, and we talk about everything except sync licensing. So
we talk about the International Banana Museum and the gum wall and all sorts of weird shit.
But it's actually really cool. We've been becoming really good friends as a community. So if you're not following the camp, so you see my face, it's probably at the top. I'm Eric. I'm at the top left-hand corner of your phone. Above my face is the title of the room, and above that is Control Camp with a greenhouse by it. If you click on that greenhouse, that takes you to the Control Camp page, and you can follow the Control Camp Club, and that will allow the room to show up in your hallway. Otherwise, it is hidden from your view. So if you want to continue to hang with us, just follow the camp and come meet us in the after party. We'll stay there for a little bit, just kind of chatting.
And before you do, I just want to remind everybody in the audience, follow everyone on the stage here. Obviously, Eric and Jiraj, but Alyssa, Rachel, Irene, Amy, Amanda, Alex, Jason, Ali, Koichi, Jess. Give them some follows because they're going to be in the rooms that you want to be in to hear more, because they're all basically new to Clubhouse.
And just, our followers, club members know this, but and Steph said this earlier, but we kind of have a saying here. We want to follow everybody on the stage. We believe in following aggressively, but being real cautious in people's DMs. We don't, if people haven't specifically come out and said, hey, hit me up, then don't take that as an invitation, but follow everyone. Best way is just to kind of see what they're doing, and opportunities might present themselves. I find that opportunities present themselves sometimes when I just follow and just be a regular human around people, and it's worked really well for me. So with that, Steph, Daraj, you want to close out?
Yeah, I think it might be appropriate for Steph to close out, but I will say, one, just thanking all of our guests coming and hang with us and carving out time in your schedule. I know, without a doubt, you all's time is very precious, and so we just appreciate you lending it to our audience and helping us to, really strengthen the community that we have here. As I always like to say, is you never know, that one piece of advice that might change the trajectory of someone's career and pursuits. And so you ladies have been just, super influential and inspiring in careers. And so we're just so glad to have you here. And we just want to also celebrate Steph, because again, she is kind of the thread that ties this night together. And so we just thank her, Music Box, for, just being a part of Control Camp, so deeply, but also, creating moments like this, for everybody. So Steph, close us out, girl.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to close out from my favorite Quincy quote because I try not to bring him up too much either because I sound like a name-dropping douche. But one of the best nights I ever had was getting to play blackjack with Quincy in Vegas, where he dropped 1,000 gems because we were playing for about 8 hours. And the night started with a piece of advice of, I was like, I'm going to go to bed. Good night. And he was like, really? You're going to go to bed? Sleep when you're dead. We have better things to do. And we started playing blackjack. But the best piece of advice after we were talking about many, many things was he had a 16 on the table. And if you play blackjack with the rules, you don't hit on 16. That's a busting hand, as we call it. And he had 16 and he motioned down for the dealer to hit him. And I said, no, Q, don't let her hit you. I'm like, you're going to bust. And he said, Steph, you're never going to get an A if you're always afraid of an F, which I thought was the best advice. It basically means if you don't try, you're always going to fail either way. So just go for it. It was the best advice I ever got. And I looked at him and I went, you're fucking nuts. And he went, A, F. And he put his finger on the table and she threw down a 5 and he got blackjack. And then I screamed like a child because I thought it was the coolest thing ever because he's a fucking unicorn. But magic happens all the time like that. And I think, that's probably the best advice, musically or otherwise. You got to just put yourself out there and try. And with that said, let's go party in the after party. I love you all. Thanks, ladies. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
ladies.
Bye.
You guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.